Hello everyone, this is for section P3 for pre-calculus. I needed to go through some basic definitions of lines with you, particularly about slope. All lines have slope. It's a little frustrating to hear kids continue to say that something has no slope. That's not true. It's kind of frustrating, I'm sure, for you if you see someone that can't spell. There we go. Every line has slope. There's no such thing as a line has no slope, or to say that it has none. That's not true either. All lines have slope. The basic definition of slope is rise over run. So, looking at this one, to get the slope off it, sure, there's a formal definition that I can give for you on it, but just go with the idea, how about just count it right out? From this point to that point, I'm going to drop 2. So it means the rise was -2, and then run 1, 2, 3. This one, if I go from that point to that point, I'm going to rise 2, run 1, 2, 3. All lines that go down, as you read from the left side of the graph to the right side of the graph, all lines that go down are going to have a negative slope. Always. All lines that go up from left to right, as you read from the left side of the graph to the right side, are going to have a positive slope. So it's something that you have to have committed to memory. That has to be something that's intuitive. It has to be something that you recognize readily, quickly, without hesitation. This one, if I go from this point to that point, I am not rising. My rise is worth 0. But I'm running 1, 2, 3. Basic definition of fractions. If you guys had a pie that's cut into 3 pieces, and you have 0 out of 3 pieces, how many pieces do you have? You have 0. Okay, now, I realize in your day-to-day existence, say it's money that you're talking about. If you have $0, that's the same thing as you have none. All right, in a mathematical situation, 0 is often not the same as none. Okay, let's say I give you a number line. Oops, +1, +2. Let's say you're standing right here. Are you nowhere on that graph? Are you nowhere on that number line? Does your place on that number line not exist? No, of course not. The value where you're standing is 0. You have a location. 0 is not the same as none. Okay, same thing here. Telling me I have no slope doesn't make sense. You have a perfectly good slope. Its slope happens to be worth 0. It doesn't mean you don't have one. It has a value. You're not rising, but you're running. You can calculate the slope. You can read it right out. You didn't rise, but you ran. It has a value of 0. Okay, let's try this one. You're going to go up 1, 2, 3, but you're not going to run. This one's a little bit different. You guys can't divide by 0. If you type this in your calculator, 3 divided by 0, you get error. Now, it doesn't mean, once again, that you don't have a slope. It means you have one. Unfortunately, I just can't tell you what it is because the slope is undefined. All vertical lines have an undefined slope because you're dividing by 0. Again, it doesn't mean you have no slope or there isn't one. It just means it's not definable. I can't tell you what it is because you're dividing by 0. It doesn't mean you don't have one. It means undefined. It's not definable because you're dividing by 0. It makes perfect sense in the slope of this line. You're rising, you're just not running. Okay? So again, don't say no slope, don't say none. It doesn't make sense. Okay? All right, in your homework you'll be given a coordinate and the slope. So a coordinate and a slope, and you'll be asked to find 3 additional points on the line. You're just going to use the basic definition of slope, rise over run. Right? If you're standing here, you're rising 1, and you're going to run 2. X, Y. If you look at a coordinate grid, that's your y-axis, this is your x-axis. This is how much you're changing up and down. This is how much you're changing side to side. So you're changing 1 unit up. So your y value is going to be 4. You're 2 units in the left or right direction, so you're going to become 4. So that's 1. Then you're going to change 1 unit in the rise, 2 units in the run. 1 unit in the rise, 2 units in the run. There you go. This one, negative 2/3. You either put the negative upstairs or you put the negative downstairs, but you don't put it both places. Whoops, get carried away. But you don't put it both places, because if you do, you're going to get a positive slope. So which location you put it, it's up to you. I'm probably just going to default to doing it to this first one. So you're going to drop 2 units in the y, but you're going to increase 3 units in the x. Drop 2 units in the y, increase 3 units in the x. Drop 2 units in the y, increase 3 units in the x. Okay? An undefined slope. Well, remember, once again, that's going to create a vertical line. If you're going vertical, who's changing? Your x or your y? Which one changes? The y value, because it's an up to down motion. So you're going to have 3 coordinates where the x value is the same. Then pick any numbers you want. Okay, -6, -7, -8, whatever you want to put there. Doesn't matter, as long as the x is 4. Okay. This one, if it helps you put it over 1, help see it. So you're changing 4 on the y, 1 on the x. 4 on the y, 1 on the x. 4 on the y, 1 on the x. Slope of 0. If it helps you put it over a number, doesn't matter what that number is. It could be positive, could be negative, doesn't matter, as long as the top is 0. So your y isn't changing, but your x value is. Whatever amount you subscribe it to. So the y value doesn't change. And the x value does. About 5, 6, 7. Notice for a vertical line, the x value doesn't change. For a horizontal line, the y value doesn't change. Anything with a slope of 0, is a horizontal line. Anything with an undefined slope is a vertical line. Once again, notice the x isn't changing. The x value isn't changing. The x value is fixed. In this case, the x is always 2. But the y value can do anything it wants. For this one, the y value is always 2. The x value can do anything it wants. If the y is fixed on a horizontal, the x is fixed on a vertical. That's the same thing that's going on here. Okay, parallel slopes and perpendicular slopes. Lines that are parallel, let's count it. How about up 1? There's a good point. There's a good point right there. Up 1, 2, 3. Run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope of this one is 3/5. Up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The slopes are the same. Parallel lines have the same slope. It should make sense. If this one is just as steep as this one, they gotta have the same slope, right? Okay. Now this one, looking at it, in case you don't recognize or don't remember what the perpendicular slopes are. So let's go up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope of this line is 3/5. Slope of the other line, let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So down 5 over 1, 2, 3. So down 5 over 3. How are these related? They're opposite reciprocals. So opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocals. Or the way the book is going to define it, if you take the 2 slopes and multiply them together, you're going to get -1. Perpendicular slopes, so if I have slope 1 times the other slope, you're going to get -1. That's how the book is going to define it. Well, in order for that to happen, what has to be true? They have to be reciprocals, and they have to be opposite in sign in order to get a -1 as an answer. All right, that's just a fancy math way of describing opposite reciprocals. Okay, this is going to be either general or standard form depending on which book you're looking at. I don't find it particularly useful. Uppercase letters, as you learned in geometry, are different than lowercase letters. They mean different things. In this case, they mean that they're all positive or negative. Let me just back up from that. They're integers. They're whole numbers, positive or negative. That's what makes an integer an integer. All right, this is going to be slope intercept form. Slope intercept form. General or standard form, again, depending on what book you're looking at. This form, like I said, isn't particularly useful for much of anything. Where this one, you can read the slope and the y-intercept straight out of it. That's why it's called slope intercept form. Find the slope and y-intercept. Well, I need to cut the 8 off of both sides. So I have 3x minus 2y is equal to negative 8. Subtract the 3x off. So I have minus 2y is equal to minus 3x minus 8. And then divide by negative 2. So you get y is equal to 3 halves x plus 4. So your slope and your y-intercept. All right. This one, all I did was solve for y. That's what I'm doing, solving for y, making it look like this. This one, notice there is no y. What you guys need to remember is it crosses the axis for the letters that it has. This one had an x and a y. So if you were to graph it, there's your y-intercept of 4, slope of 3 halves, 1, 2, 3, 2. This would be your line. Notice it's crossing both the x and the y-axis. This one only has an x. So x has got to be 5/3. So whatever coordinates you choose, x has got to be 5/3. Negative 2, I don't know, 7. So go to 5/3, so that's 1 2/3. X is negative 2. 5/3 and 7. What kind of line you got? You got yourself a vertical line. All lines that only have an x only cross the x. That's one way that you can remember it. So what's the slope of this line? The slope of this line is undefined because you're rising, but you're not running. So some number over 0. Again, that's undefined. Right? And there isn't a y-intercept. Now, for the y-intercept, that's a situation where you'd say none. There isn't one. Don't say 0, because if you said a y-intercept is 0, that's right there. This does not have one. There's none. This has a slope. It's not definable, though, so it's undefined because you're dividing by 0. Saying there's none, that doesn't work. Okay, let's try this one. Add the 5. 2y is equal to 11, so y is equal to 11 halves. Again, yx, if y is 11 halves, so that would be 5 1/2. 5 1/2 units up, you're going to have a horizontal line. What's the slope? X. The slope is 0. The y-intercept is going to be 5 1/2. Right? If you only have a y, you're only going to cross the y. So it's horizontal. Slope of all horizontal lines, rise over run. Are you rising? No. Are you running? Yes. What's that worth? 0. Okay, slope of all horizontal lines is 0. Slope of all vertical lines is undefined. Anything that just has an x is going to be vertical. Anything that just has a y is going to be horizontal. I think that's the last one. Yep, this will be for the start of the next video.